Hello guys. Welcome to my channel. Hope you like it and enjoy it. Subscribe to my channel for more videos. Somali Civil War. Somalia, Horn of Africa. The Somali conflict is a multifaceted dispute triggered by the fall of President Said Barre regime on January 27, 1991. General Barre's dictatorship was synonymous with extreme brutality, suppression of opposition groups, both nationalistic and Islamic, and exacerbation of inter-clan rivalries. 3 knocked out Somali National Army, SNA, M47 Patton medium tanks left abandoned near a warehouse, photographed December 1993. By mid-1990, United Somali Congress, USC, rebels had captured most towns and villages surrounding Mogadishu, which prompted some to give Barre the ironic title Mayor of Mogadishu. In December, the USC entered Mogadishu. 4 weeks of battle between Barre's remaining troops and the USC ensued, during which the USC brought more forces into the city. By January 1991, USC rebels defeated the Red Berets, Barre's special forces, toppling Barre's hold on the government. The remainder of the government's forces then finally collapsed. Some became irregular regional forces and clan militias. After the USC's victory over Barre's troops, the other rebel groups declined to cooperate with it, as each instead drew primary support from its own constituency. Among these other opposition movements were the Somali Patriotic Movement, SPM, and Somali Democratic Alliance, SDA, group which had been formed in the northwest to counter the Somali National Movement militia. For its part, the SNM initially refused to accept the legitimacy of the provisional government that the USC had established, but in March 1991 the SNM's former leader Ahmed Mohamed Solano proposed a power-sharing framework between the SNM and USC under a new transitional government. Many of the opposition groups subsequently began competing for influence in the power vacuum that followed the ousting of Barre's government. In the south, armed factions led by USC commanders General Mohammed Farah Aidid and Ali Mahdi Mohammed, in particular, clashed as each sought to exert authority over the capital. In the northwest, at the Bureau Conference of April-May 1991, the SNM declared an independent Republic of Somaliland in the region that had constituted the British Somaliland before independence and unification with the former colony of Italian Somaliland in 1960, electing Abdi Rahman Ahmed Ali Toure as president. In 1992, after 4 months of heavy fighting for control of Mogadishu, a ceasefire was agreed between Ali Mahdi Mohammed and Mohammed Farah Aidid. Neither had seized control of the capital, and as a result, a green line was established between east and west that divided their areas of control. United Nations Intervention, 1992 to 1995. Main articles, UNITAF and UNUSM II. UN Security Council Resolution 733 and Union Security Council Resolution 746 led to the creation of the United Nations Operation in Somalia UNUSM I, to provide humanitarian relief and help restore order in Somalia after the dissolution of its central government. An American soldier at the main entrance to the port of Mogadishu points to identify a sniper's possible firing position, January 1994. United Nations Security Council Resolution 794 was unanimously passed on December 3, 1992, which approved a coalition of United Nations peacekeepers led by the United States. Forming the Unified Task Force, UNITAF, the alliance was tasked with assuring security until humanitarian efforts aimed at stabilizing the situation were transferred to the UN. Landing in 1993, the UN Peacekeeping Coalition started the 2-year United Nations operation in Somalia II, UNUSM II, primarily in the south. UNITAF's original mandate was to use all necessary means to guarantee the delivery of humanitarian aid in accordance to Chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter. During negotiations from 1993 to 1995, Somali principals had some success in reconciliation and establishment of public authorities. Among these initiatives was the Muted Peace Agreement of June 1993 between Aidid's forces and the SSDF, which established a ceasefire between the and the Majeerteen clans, opened the trade routes, and formalized the withdrawal of militants from Galkayo. The UNUSM-mediated reconciliation of January 1994 in Mogadishu between elders of the rival, which was backed by politicians from these constituencies and concluded with a pact to end hostilities, dismantled the Green Line partitioning the city, and remove roadblocks, the ANUSM-mediated Kismayo Initiative of 1994 between the SNA, SPM, SSDF, and representatives of 19 clans from the southern Lower Juba and Middle Juba regions. The 1994 Bardhir Conference between the Merhan and Rahanwain, Digil and Miraful, which resolved conflicts over. Some of the militias that were then competing for power saw ANUSM's presence as a threat to their hegemony. Consequently, gun battles took place in Mogadishu between local gunmen and peacekeepers. Among these was the Battle of Mogadishu in October 1993, an unsuccessful attempt by U.S. troops to apprehend faction leader Aidid. UN soldiers eventually withdrew altogether from the country on March 3, 1995, having incurred more significant casualties. USC/SSA, 1995-2000. After ANUSM II's departure in March 1995, military clashes between local factions became shorter, generally less intense, and more localized. This was in part due to the large-scale UN military intervention that had helped to curb the intense fighting between the major factions, who then began to focus on consolidating gains that they had made. The local peace and reconciliation initiatives that had been undertaken in the south-central part of the country between 1993 and 1995 also generally had a positive impact. Aidid subsequently declared himself president of Somalia on June 15, 1995. However, his declaration received no recognition, as his rival Ali Mahdi Mohammed had already been elected interim president at a conference in Djibouti and recognized as such by the international community. Consequently, Aidid's faction continued its quest for hegemony in the south. In September 1995, militia forces loyal to him attacked and occupied the city of Baidoa. Aidid's forces remained in control of Baidoa from September 1995 to at least January 1996, while the local Rahanwain Resistance Army militia continued to engage his forces in the town's environs. Fighting continued in the later half of 1995 in southern Kismayo and the Juba Valley, as well as southwestern and central Somalia. However, despite these pockets of conflict, the Ghetto and Middle Shabelle regions and northwestern parts of the country remained relatively peaceful. A number of the regional and district administrations that had been locally established in the preceding few years continued to operate in these areas. In 1994-95, factions contending for power in the newly declared independent Somaliland region included the United Somalia Front, the Somalia Democratic Front, the Somali National Movement, and the United Somali Party. Hassan Mohammed Nur Shadagadud, leader of the Rahanwain Resistance Army. In March 1996, Ali Mahdi was elected chairman of the United Somali Congress/Somali Salvation Alliance, USC/SSA, based in northern Mogadishu. In the southern part of city, Aidid's forces battled those of Osman Addo for control of the port of Merka as well as strategic areas in Mogadishu. Fighting in Merka eventually ended after elders intervened, but continued in Mogadishu. In August 1996, Aidid died from wounds incurred during combat in the Medina area. In 1998, a homegrown constitutional conference was held in the northeastern town of Garo over a period of 3 months. It was attended by the area's political elite, traditional elders, isms, members of the business community, intellectuals, and other civil society representatives. The Puntland state of Somalia was subsequently established. In 1999, Eritrea was alleged to be supporting Somali National Alliance forces led by the late Aidid's son Hussein Farah Aidid. Aidid Jr. denied the claims, saying that the Ethiopian Prime Minister Meles Zenawi had requested that he mediate between Ethiopia and Eritrea in their separate conflict. However, the International Institute for Strategic Studies separately reported that Hussein Aid himself had acknowledged support from both Eritrea and Uganda. Aid's forces occupied Hutter and Baidoa. However, they were driven out by the Rahanwain Resistance Army in June 1999. By the end of the year, the Resistance Army had taken control of the Bay and Bakul provinces. The RRA's leader Hassan Mohammed Nur Shadagadud subsequently established the southwestern state of Somalia Regional Administration. In 2000, Ali Mahdi participated in another conference in Djibouti. He lost a re-election bid there to BAR's former Interior Minister Abdi Qasim Salad Hassan. In 1991 and 1998, 2 autonomous regional governments were also established in the northern part of the country. This led to a relative decrease in the intensity of the fighting, with the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute removing Somalia from its list of major armed conflicts for 1997 and 1998. In 2000, the Transitional National Government was established, followed by the Transitional Federal Government, TFG, in 2004. The trend toward reduced conflict halted in 2005, and sustained and destructive conflict took place in the south in 2005-07, but the battle was of a much lower scale and intensity than in the early 1990s. In 2006, Ethiopian troops seized most of the south from the newly formed Islamic Courts Union, ICU. The ICU then splintered into more radical groups, notably which have since been fighting the Somali government and the AU-mandated AMISOM peacekeeping force for control of the country. Somalia topped the annual Fragile States Index for 6 years from 2008 up to and including 2013. In October 2011, following preparatory meetings, Kenyan troops entered southern Somalia, Operation Linda Enchi, to fight al-Shabaab and establish a buffer zone inside Somalia. Kenyan troops were formally integrated into the multinational force in February 2012. The federal government of Somalia was established in August 2012, constituting the country's first permanent central government since the start of the civil war. International stakeholders and analysts subsequently began to describe Somalia as a fragile state that is making some progress toward stability. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more history.